You could fly through dark woods and even darker caves and not bump into anything. If you were a bat, you would be afraid of people. A person, even a child, would look like a huge monster to you. When a bat is afraid, it opens its mouth wide and shows its teeth. So did you ever think that bats were afraid of you? Look at this one. The same bat looks quite different when it's calm and not afraid. And when people look calmly at bats, they can learn that bats are gentle, intelligent, and fascinating animals. Bats are among the most beneficial animals on Earth. Beneficial means that they help humans. This is a Gambia epauletted bat with young. That one kind of looks like Stella Luna. Have you guys ever read Stella Luna? You see its little baby in there? This one was called a frog. This was the frog-eating bat that we saw on the first page. Bats are mammals. Baby bats nurse milk from their mothers, just as human babies and mouse babies do. But bats are not mice with wings, as some people think. They are a special group of mammals, the only ones that fly. Bats are the masters of the night. Almost 1,000 kind of bats live on Earth. Bats live in tropical rainforests, in mountains, in deserts, and probably right in your neighborhood. 45 different kinds of bats live in North America. So have you guys ever seen a bat in real life? Raise your hand if you've seen a bat. I see some. All right, you can put your hands down. And if you need something, you can type in the chat. So it's sharing some misconceptions about bats. I'm gonna write that word on my board, misconceptions. That means when people think something that's not true. And it has that prefix, misconceptions. Had to break it up. Misconceptions. So it said, some people think bats are scary. That's a misconception. And then it said, some people think that bats are like mice, but with wings. So people think that, but it's not really true. Anybody else know of some misconceptions around bats? What do people think about bats that maybe aren't true? You can write in the chat or raise your hand. Liam, what have you heard about
that? They're part of the sugar gliding family.
It's still a little chilly.
Sugar gliding family. I haven't heard that. So there's
it's like sugar. It's like you know how flying squirrels?
Mm-hmm.
Sugar gliders are in the same family with them.
Okay, maybe we'll learn about that. So is that? I don't think that's a misconception, though, right? I think that's a fact. Anybody hear of misconception about bats?
Humans think that bats drink humans' blood.
Oh, how many people have heard that bats drink human blood? Well, we're going to find out if that's a misconception or a fact. Dalia?
Oh, I don't think that's true. It's really weird. People think like that, my brother thinks that bats are just like vampires, because in the movie vampires turn into bats.
Oh, that's a misconception, that bats turn into vampires. So let's read about, are those misconceptions, are those facts? These are the flying foxes. Most bats live in warm tropics. Among these are the megabats. Mega means large. They weigh up to 4 pounds, about half as much as a small cat. Megabats live in Asia, Africa, and Australia. They are called flying foxes. Some megabats have mega wings, up to 6 feet across when they fly. They also have mega eyes, big eyes that allow them to see very well. With their keen eyesight and their sense of smell, flying foxes can find fruit or the nectar and pollen of flowers to eat. As they feed and fly about, flying foxes help many tropical plants to reproduce. Seeds from the fruit that bats eat are spread far and wide, and new trees grow from the seeds. They kind of sound like when bees pollinate and they spread the pollen around. Bats do that with the seeds of fruit. See how they're helpers? They help new plants to grow. In East Africa, the flowers of the giant baobab tree open only at night. When bats take their nectar from the flowers, they accidentally carry pollen from one flower to another. This helps the flowers produce seeds for new trees. Without bats, the baobab and many other tropical trees would die out. Pretty tree. This is a Wahlberg's epauletted fruit bat. Lesser long-nosed bat. In Mexico and southwestern United States, flowers of giant cactus plants open only at night. The lesser long-nosed bat laps up nectar from the flowers. By accident, it also helps pollinate the cactus flowers. The lesser long-nosed bat is a microbat. Micro means small. A microbat that lives in Thailand is the world's tiniest bat. It weighs less than a United States penny. So remember our grams? It weighs about 2 grams or 2 paper clips. And let's see, its body is about the size of a bee. So it is called the bumblebee bat. And it says actual size. So it's only about this big. So if we're looking at comparing to my face, it's like that big. The bumblebee. Little brown bats. There are 800 kinds of microbats in the world. All bats in North America are microbats. So if you've seen a bat, you've seen a microbat. That means they're small. If microbats live near your home, you are lucky. They are good neighbors. Most microbats eat flying insects, including mosquitoes and other pests. Oh, do you ever think, oh, bats are good neighbors? I've never had that thought. I think, a bat. But they do a lot of good things and they eat those pesky mosquitoes. The little brown bat is a microbat that lives in many parts of North America. It sleeps all day in an attic, a hollow tree, or other shelter. Then at dusk, the little brown bat spreads its wings and flies into the night in search for insect food. There's a little brown bat close up. Imagine trying to catch tiny insects in the dark. In an hour, however, a little brown bat can catch several hundred mosquitoes. Like most microbats, it has a special way of catching insects and finding its way in the dark. As the bat flies, it sends out many high-pitched calls. The sounds bounce off nearby objects and return as echoes so the bat can hear. From the echoes, the bat is able to locate objects in front of it. This is called echolocation. Scientists have made echolocation systems, but they are not nearly as good as those of bats. The echoes a bat receives gives it a clear picture in its brain of what lies ahead. It is able to dodge twigs and even strands of very fine wire. The bat can tell the size, shape, and movement of a flying insect. How many of you heard, "I'm as blind as a bat"? Have you heard that saying? Well, bats are not blind. Nocturnal bat. Bats are the athletic stars of the night. A bat can snatch a mosquito or moth from the air with its mouth, or it can use its wings like a baseball player's gloves to snag a bug and then bring the insect into its mouth. When a bat is thirsty, it skims low over a pond or stream. It takes a sip of water on the wing. The gray bat even catches mayflies from the water's surface. The greater bulldog bat of Central and South America grabs small fish out of the water. This microbat is often called the fishing bat. When echoes of the sounds bounce off a fish's back fin or from ripples in the water made by the fish, the bat zeroes in on its target. It clutches the fish with its claws. Its extra sharp teeth grip the slippery fish. The fishing bat even has 2 cheek pouches for storing a fish until it finds a safe place to eat its catch. So they're big enough to have a fish in its mouth. This is the greater bulldog bat. So you might see bats around the water. California leaf nose. Some insects can detect the echolocation calls of a bat. When a bat is near, a moth may dive and zigzag. Some manage to escape. Certain kinds of bats catch some of their food without using echolocation. In a dark cave, they need to use echolocation to find their way. Outdoors, though, they sometimes hunt without it. The California leaf-nosed bat sees very well in dim light. Also, its big ears help the bat hear insects on the move. It flies slowly and grabs crickets, beetles, and caterpillars right off the ground or from plants. So they can see really well if they can see those grasshoppers at night. Oh, there's a centipede. That's his dinner. This is the pallid bat. The pallid bat of the desert of western North America also has big ears. It also flies slowly or even waits on the ground and listens carefully. It may hear a cricket or scorpion on the move, or the many footsteps of a centipede. Then it pounces. Oh, here's where we get the vampire bat. Look at this guy. Other kinds of microbats eat unusual foods. Some catch frogs, some catch small birds, mice, and even other smaller bats. One of the most unusual bats does not actually catch any of its prey. Instead, the common vampire bat of Central and South America lands gently on a cow or other large animals. With its sharp teeth, it makes a little bite, then licks up the blood that flows. A vampire may drink half of its weight in one meal, but that's not much. The vampire bat is a small bat. It only weighs between 1 or 2 ounces. Vampire bats are known to share food. Back in its hideout after feeding, a vampire will spit some of the blood meal to a hungry or sick member of its colony so that they can eat. So that's where the vampire bat gets its name. It doesn't drink human blood, but it does eat from large animals. When daylight comes, bats need a roost, a safe place to sleep. Flying foxes often hang from high tree limbs out in the open, but most bats roost in caves, mines, buildings, and hollow trees. Some rainforest bats make their own shelter. They chew partway through the veins of several leaves, causing the leaves to droop. This forms a tent-like space in which a colony of bats sleep. Peter's tent making bats. So the bats are hiding in those big leaves. In central Texas, bats from the largest mammal colony on Earth in a summer roosting place called Bracken Cave. The bats are microbats called Mexican free-tailed bats. In the spring, millions of female bats fly from Mexico to the cave. In June, they each give birth to a single pup. This doubles the colony's numbers to about 40 million. At dusk, swirling clouds of bats rise nearly 2 miles high, catching winds that carry them far away to insect hunting areas. Spreading over Texas towns and farms, the bats may eat as much as 200 tons of insects each summer night. That is a lot of bats. So let's look whenever the babies are born. She nurses it and licks its fur. Like cats, bats often groom themselves and each other. Within minutes of being born, even before it has fur, a bat pup begins to lick its wings. In the fall, Mexican free-tailed bats fly to roost in Mexico. Other bats also migrate hundreds of miles to a winter refuge. It is cold, there are no insects to eat, and many North American bats huddle together in a mine, cave, or other shelter, and they go into a deep hibernation. A hibernating bat seems barely alive. It only breathes twice in an hour. If people disturb a colony of hibernating bats, the bats wake up and use some of their precious stored energy. Many bats die if they are awakened several times in the winter. Sometimes colonies of bats lose their favorite roosting or hibernating place when the entrance to an abandoned mine is closed. People who care about bats are working to save such places. A strong bat gate can keep people out, but give bats a safe home. So that is an example of a bat gate. So the bats can still get in, but humans can't. Little brown bats. At night, a bat's home is in the sky, but in the day, in all seasons, a bat's survival depends on having a safe place to hide. Protecting these places is a goal of people who admire and appreciate bats. Some people even try to attract bats into their backyards. Many people still have odd and incorrect ideas about bats. They believe that bats are ugly, disease-carrying, and are blind, and sometimes get entangled in women's hair. By now, you know that bats are not blind. Many bats see very well. Even those with the tiniest eyes see just as well as mice, and any bat that can use echolocation to catch an insect in the air can easily avoid getting tangled in a woman's hair. The truth is, bats may swoop close to people at night. They are hunting for insects. They may even catch a mosquito that was hunting you. Here's some more interesting looking bats. Ooh, they almost look like gremlins if you've ever seen the Gremlins movie. Chaplain free-tailed bat, hammerhead bat, false vampire bat. This one's a wrinkled-faced bat and a gothic bat. He's got like a horn. Crazy. Sometimes a few bats out of many carry a dangerous disease called rabies. A bat that is dying from this disease can pass it on with a bite. But such a bat is still a gentle, shy creature that is afraid of people. To avoid danger, a wise rule is to never touch a bat. Some bats do have strange-looking faces. They have some of the oddest-looking noses and ears in the animal world. Most of these features help bats receive echoes